everyone, and welcome to one more episode of Protecting Wildlife. And today I have a very amazing speaker, and I'm very proud of she said yes to be on this interview together with me. And her name is Francesca Sampino. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. This is a blessing for you to have said yes to this, so thank you so much. And who is this lady? She is working with the White Squirrel Campaign Assistant for the IFAW since 2019. And share a little bit about who you are, my friend.
I'm Francesca. I started working at IFAW in 2019 after graduating from college in the US. I studied environmental science. I've loved the ocean since I was 5, and I lived by the sea, and I've always wanted to protect it. So I launched into looking for a job in ocean conservation and ended at IFAW, trying to save this very specific and very precious species.
That is amazing. And to you out there, if you want to read more about this, she has writes amazing article around the right whale. The North Atlantic right whale. It's a new name I've learned around this whale. You can just go under this video or go back. There is a link to the article, so you get a little bit more knowledge about that afterwards. So Francesca, share a little bit, who is IFAW?
IFAW is the International Fund for Animal Welfare. We work internationally in over 16 countries on various projects where we try and find solutions for endangered species to coexist with humans so that we can all live and to share this great earth together.
That's amazing. You share a little bit about you always have the passion with water. How did you know you want to write this amazing article around the North Atlantic right whale? This is a species of a whale.
So I've been working for the campaign for 2.5 years, and I just thought it was the right moment to write about it and try and increase awareness and knowledge of the issue and why this species is slowly going extinct, and that we can make a difference and try and stop it from leaving and dying off.
So how did you find this passion around whales, like from water to whales?
It's very silly. When I was very little, I saw my first whale and I fell in love, and I was astonished. It was breaching, which is when they jump out. And I just was like, this is amazing. Look at this huge animal just jumping out of the water. And I just was star-struck. And they're very smart, very incredible animals that travel so far every year, and they're just amazing.
It's an amazing animal to have, like a so big animal out in the ocean. It's a little bit like, I've never seen it in real life, but I can imagine it's just like blowing you away when you see like so big animal in the water.
It's crazy. It's almost like, is this real?
Yeah, is this an animal?
Is this CGI? Is this fake?
Yeah, it's true.
But it's incredible. They're fascinating.
It must be. And also beautiful video. You have to have this North Atlantic right whale with the cup. You call it a coppice?
It's called a calf. You mean the baby?
Calf. Yeah,
yes,
together with the mom. It's beautiful videos. So share a little about, you have touched a little bit about it. We have, like, as I can see, we all have a big responsibility to do our part in this world to really save the whales, and we can do that all over the world, and that will we share a little bit more later in this interview. So share a little bit about what is the 3 biggest threats this whale is facing out in the ocean.
So right whales face actually 2 major threats. There is entanglement in fishing gear and vessel strikes. Entanglement in fishing gear tends to be with vertical lines. So like the buoy that's at the surface has a line that goes down to like pot traps to fish like crab or lobster. And because they're very small and thin, the whales actually don't see them. And so when they tend to swim back up, they swivel and get entangled in it, and then will drag the gear, which is very gruesome and a very painful way to go on. And it's very hard to see photos of it. And the second one is vessel strikes, where if boats go faster than a certain speed, these whales don't move very fast because they're so big. And if you go faster than a certain speed, they can't avoid the boats. And so they get hit by the boats, and usually they'll die within a few days.
Oh my God. That's horrible.
Not great, not joyful news, but
is one of the video also one of the whales have like some big chunk of the back off? Is that from the boat when the boat is like hitting the whale to take like a piece of it off?
It depends on the type of scar. It could be the boat. It could also be, so whales that get entangled sometimes will disentangle themselves because they can move, but it takes time. So the rope will like create a laceration. So it can be, I'm not an expert in identifying the type of wound, but veteran people can like identify according to the type of wound what caused it.
That's amazing. And to your audience out there, as you know, I'm dyslexic and I'm coming from Denmark, so my English is a little bit shaky, and that is something I also share with together with Francesca. She's also dyslexic, and she's coming from France, Italy.
A bit of both.
Okay.
It's complicated.
So that is amazing, because what is also when she shared that, it's like, oh my God, I love it, because the world is all about take action, to just do it. The animals don't care if we say the right word. As you can hear, I have a challenge to say words sometimes, say her name correctly. I was practiced in the beginning of this interview, but the animals don't care about it. They just need us to make actions. And thank you so much for just do it, and also to be brave enough when we hit a little bit words sometimes, to just really fight for what you believe in, or fight for the animals, and be brave enough to talk another language that is not your mother language. So I want to share that with you, my friend. So thank you. And also to your other audience, just do it, and the animals don't care about mistakes. So did you also share a little bit about the second thread, the facing, about beside the fishing gear?
I can share more about the fishing gear. So as I mentioned, it's usually the vertical line that they get entangled in. And do you mean the solution we're working with, or just the problem? I have both.
Just a little bit touch about the problems, as we was talking a little bit about. You're talking about, you say there's two big threads they are facing. So one of them was like the fishing gear, the boats, or the second one was the boats.
Yes.
Okay. Now
second one is the boats. I will also say it's important to consider that climate change plays a role in all of this, because governments put in place measures to try and protect these whales, but because waters are getting warmer, the food that these whales eat, which is plankton, copepods mainly, which is a type of plankton, zooplankton, are moving up, which means these whales are also moving with it, which leads them to swim into areas that we didn't know they would be. So there's no protections, which puts them even more at risk. So it is a factor that has a lot of impact in how these whales suffer from human activities.
Yeah, and I also believe like also plastic out in the ocean. I think you also believe they are come out the seas or dying because they are swallowing plastic, because they don't have. Do they have the solution to fill the water what they are swallowing?
So they use baleines to eat, which are these like very like thin, like, well, thin, they're very thick when you look at them, like, and they filter water to get the plankton, but plastic in the water we all know now, like microplastics are everywhere, and they're not bigger than like plankton. So they definitely probably ingest plastic every time they eat. And obviously there's still a lot of scientific research that needs to happen, but we know that can't be good for a whale to just ingest plastic again and again. I wouldn't want to.
No, it's not healthy because it's not a natural thing, and plastic is so what you call dangerous because it's getting all this oil and there's stuff in plastic we will die of also as human when we eat too much fish. The fish is also in plastic, we eat also in plastic, and sometimes we will get sick of it one point in life when we eat too much plastic.
Yes. At some point we won't be able to eat the fish anymore, which
no, because there will be too much plastic in them because they're also eating plastic out there. It's crazy what is happening out there in the ocean.
so scary.
Yeah. So around these 3 threads around like fishing gear, the boats, and the food around the plankton. What's the correct word for the food, my friend?
You can call it plankton.
Okay.
There's many types of plankton, and the most common one are called copepods, which
Cocoa Pops.
it's just a funny word. And as a little nerd, I think they're adorably cute.
I want to say Cocoa Pops. I think about like candy. It's like Cocoa Pops. That's not something candy that's called Cocoa Pops.
Yes, exactly.
I like that. So it's so important to also find the funny things in the horror, like in the what they call in the challenge we are facing. It's so important to like find a
That's
little
how
bit
you
joy
get
in
the
it.
passion.
Yeah,
You just think of all those fun facts and things that these amazing creatures do.
Yeah, it's amazing to see that, and that is also a gift because I have talked with a few people that also work in the fields, and of course I believe sometimes it's just the thread is so big and you just find again, and sometimes the hope will be lost or maybe just be a little bit more smaller. So it's so nice to see you and also how you're sharing your work, because it's so important to find the joy, and it's all about like seeing it and just have a little more lightness over it, I believe.
I agree. Staying positive and seeing the good in all of these things. For example, whales have calving seasons, which is when they get babies. And now the right whales calving season started like a month ago. So we're starting to see babies pop up, and it's so exciting. And all the little calves swim next to their moms. And it's just like a good news in the middle of a lot of sad news.
True, and it's so beautiful. You also have made a video, IFAW, around like Mother's Day, when some of your coworkers was sharing about the mom and the calf. It's just like, oh, so
They're so cute.
So you have been out on the boat to see like the mom and the calf, so just like in the ocean?
I haven't had that chance. I'm based in DC, which is in the US. I wish I was. I work in the offices to try and figure out how to change solutions in the water. Actually, because this whale is very endangered, critically endangered, to be able to get close to it, you need specific permits. So you have to have a very specific reason. You can't just approach it because there's so few of them that we don't want to risk the whales accidentally dying while people just try and go and look at it. So there's specific permits and distance requirements. And so the photos you see are usually taken under NOAA permits. NOAA is the regulator in the US that does that kind of thing. And they are usually like very professional scientists or photographers or that have very specific reasons. I wish one day there'll be enough of them that I won't need a permit to see them.
I really didn't. I did not know that you get to have a permit to watch them, because I've always like imagined you go on a trip or something like that and you see the whales. But yes, I'm getting smarter every day.
It will depend on the whale. There's other whales like humpback whales, especially in other places like South Africa. There's a lot of them. So there's much more like you can actually get close to them, but there's still rules where the captains of the boat know what they're supposed to do to make sure to keep the animal safe and the people, because Vessel strikes are actually dangerous also for people. Like there are boats that have sunk because they like hit a whale. So it's also very, you need to like, it's you need to be careful for both sides.
Good point. So around this, just think about when we talk about there is no so many species of the whales, the North Atlantic right whale. In your article, if I remember correctly, you write something the 300 something. If I
There are 336 North Atlantic right whales left. This is we got the new number in October, and it was an 8% decrease in population size, which was very hard news because it's hard when you make so much work to try and change and it just keeps going down, which is why we need to keep at it and keep trying to make a difference and change the rules and try and change and use better technology to just keep these whales safe and try and stop their suffering.
Yeah. And it's so beautiful, just like keep going also when it's going down, because when we stop to fight or stop our passion as your passion with water and the whales, when we, as I see, when we stop working with our passion, we just like, we can just call ourselves death because we're not living. Because for me, living is also like doing what you love. And when you say goodbye to your passion and doing what you love with your mission, like what is point of life if you say doesn't matter?
It is how it is.
Yeah.
Oh, we can do better.
Yeah. It's always, we can always do better. It's like always like it's a new moment, it's a new day. So you have the responsibility to make a new change, because like be a better version of yourself from who you was yesterday, because God gave us a new day to do magical things again today. So we have the chance to save more whales out there.
Yes, I completely agree.
So the solution, so how do you deal with this threat you're facing your work and turn around to something powerful?
Okay, so climate change is a big threat, and we all know there's a lot of ways we can stop it, and it's very overwhelming. So I won't go into solutions for that because there's thousands of them and people that have even more expertise than me that can go into them. I can talk about how to try and protect whales from vessel strikes and entanglement. For vessel strikes, it's kind of simple, which is you just need to slow down in critical habitats. So scientists analyze where whales live most of their year and define areas that are called critical habitats where we know these whales aggregate. For example, in Florida, where the whales do their calving, where they like get their babies, there's critical habitats with voluntary speed restrictions. What we can do to make it better is that these speed restriction needs to be mandatory, and they need to apply to vessels of all sizes, because for a while we thought big ships were the only ones causing harm, but we found out that actual ships of all size have encountered whales and have hurt whales. So if you can slow down ships to less than 10 knots, scientists have estimated that number is low enough that whales have time to move away from your path. And it's also, and this is critical for right whales because, for example, in the past 2 calving seasons, 3 right whale calves have been hit by boats and succumbed to the encounter, which is tragic because we already don't get that many calves. And if they continue dying, it's just, it's just another sad news on top of all of this. It's also important to notice that ship strikes is a thing all over the world. Right whales are not the only marine animal that suffers from it, and that the idea of putting in place speed restrictions in critical habitat is happening all over the world. And so wherever you are, there's probably a species that could benefit from slowdowns where you drive on your boat. As for entanglement, the solution that we are working with is to try and use more sustainable and innovative fishing gear that would allow fishermen to continue living, because it is a very important job. It's a whole industry, but that would also protect whales. So like I mentioned before, the threat is actually the vertical line with the buoy at the top. So we're working with manufacturers, engineers, and fishermen to perfect and develop this ropeless fishing gear, where the rope is usually stored at the bottom with the gear. And then there's an acoustic device that allows fishermen to click on a button, and then it pops up, and then they retrieve it. And there's no vertical line in the water except during those retrieval moment, and that's it. The technology itself has existed for 20 years, but was used for other scientific expeditions. And in the past few years, we've been trying to translate it into using it for fishing lobster and crab. And it is very exciting. We're working with fishermen in Massachusetts to perfect this gear and allow them to continue living their livelihoods, but without harming whales, and having a sustainable solution and have a more sustainable seafood product. Any questions?
And also other thing you were talking about, the pop-ups, the plankton. What kind of solution are you working with on that challenge you're facing out there on the ocean?
So the plankton, it's not really an issue. It's more because of climate change, they displace. And that we know of, there's still a lot of plankton. It's just because it moves, whales move with it. And so whales turn into places where there's no critical habitat. And so there's no vessel restrictions or fishing closures that create a safe space for these animals. But that is a bigger issue of climate change that is a whole different world that, because of what the organization does, we don't focus on, but many other organizations are definitely putting all they have in that issue.
Amazing. So we have there's something out there to your audience is, so what can you do in your lifestyle when you're not living close? I'm living in Denmark. I do not live close to the North and Arctic right whale at all. Still, I can change some of in my lifestyle to support the work Francesca Sampino is doing. I'm practicing your name. Can you hear that, my friend?
You're doing very good.
Yeah, I have it here. So around this topic, when you talk about is saving the North Arctic right whale, there's 4 actions you can do out there. And the first thing you can do is easy. And let's talk about the issue. Can you talk a little bit more about the first action step people can do in the lifestyle?
The first, like it says, it's very easy. It's just talking about these things. It's incredible how few people know about these issues. Even in the US, where the whale lives, very few people are aware that this whale exists, that it has all these issues. And just increasing general awareness is a huge step, because by increasing awareness, you increase interest in people to make a difference. And so you increase actual voters to say, I want to make a difference. I want something to change. And so talking about just this whale that you learned about today to your parents or to your coworkers is already a huge step. Or even if you're in another country, learn about species around your country that live there and are impacted. And obviously I'm an ocean person, so I would say look at ocean animals, but there are also land animals that have similar issues, and learn about them and talk about these kind of things it's a very big difference. It feels too easy, but it's huge, because knowledge changes a lot.
Yeah, knowledge make an impact for us to choose to make a change in our lifestyles.
It also shows other people that make a decision that you care. It's not something that is like, oh, nobody cares about this. No, I care. I know about this. This should be a priority as well.
Yeah, and then also supporting our own lifestyle, because when we have an unhealthy earth, like a world as we have now, global warming, we are talking a little bit about it, like it's also affect our lifestyle, like our food, our water, where we're living, and things is happening. Like we have we got the responsibility to do our part, and everything is going in the small steps, and the small step will make the big impact if we all choose to change one habit in our lifestyle.
Exactly.
So the second step, the exit step you are talking about, is like something about contact your members to funding the wells. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
That one was much more US and Canada specific, since the whale is found in US and Canada. You can contact member of Congress to tell them, I want funding from the government to go towards this new gear that I mentioned, because new gear means expensive technology, and expensive technology is hard to afford. And getting funding is actually a very big, it makes a huge difference for these things to move quicker. If you're not in the US, you can do similar things within your own country, because there's similar animals that probably need similar support. As a voter, you have actually a lot of power to like contact your government representative and tell them, this is something I care about and I want you to try and do something about it. Also, I do know the US actually, when they have comment periods, which is when you can send a message and say, I want this to happen, you don't have to be American to send it. So we often, when we have those kind of events, we'll send an email to all our supporters, even internationally, because you can be, I think this should be a priority, even in other parts of the world. So that is the second thing you can do. Just get involved and try and see if your government can make this a priority.
That is I did not know that, and that is something that is very important, because when I really focus, like I can only make an impact in my government if it is in Denmark. What matters if I send a US a message when I get a newsletter from you? I did not know on that point, or I also can make an impact also when I'm living in Denmark, to make an impact in US.
It is incredible. The last, we call them comment period. It was for this rule that helps reduce risk to large whales in the US. We sent out an email to supporters internationally and got 17,000 comments internationally, which was amazing. We were so happy to see all this support, like both nationally, because we got also, I think 20,000 or 17 as well, like nationally, but we also got all this international support, and it makes a difference. And it's a small thing. It takes 2 seconds. We send you a link and you're just like, I support this, but it actually goes there and people see it.
That is amazing, and something I get to share with my community of friends around that kind of link, because so thank you so much for pointing that out. And yes,
I learned that. I didn't know that until like, I think it was 7 months ago, all of this happened. I was like, we can really do this. This is amazing.
I think maybe I've seen it before. It's like, just like going again away from the message, because like I'm in Denmark, how can I make an impact in USA with my time in, say, I support this and make a comment. So that is just amazing.
Yes, I did the same thing. When I would see something that was in another country, I think, well, I can't do anything about it. It's all over across the world, but you can get your voice heard, even if it's one little thing. There's a lot of one little things that turns into big things.
Exactly. Like when we all choose to put the most precious thing we have, time, in like a newsletter we get from you to say, I support it, 5 minutes. I think it's only 5 minutes. Not,
even less. It's
yeah.
clicks. It's so quick. It's
Yeah.
impressive.
Everything needs to be so fast because we are so fast away again in our lives.
Yes, attention spam is.
Oh my God, yeah. So the third action step you're talking about is you have to share a little bit about it. It's like help to spread the awareness.
And this one's specific about speed strikes and vessel speed, because this is actually one, I mean, entanglement also happens all over the world, but vessel strikes are they don't have a lot of representation out there, but they happen a lot. There's very little documentation of it, but there's a lot of vessel strikes that will harm a lot of species, not just whales too. Like you have sea turtles, you have a lot of other animals that suffer from this. And it's a very silly thing that you don't think of when you're on your boat and you're driving, or when you go out on a boat. But it's a thing that if you think about it and say, oh, did you know that actually, like if we're here, like this is a slowdown area because for this animal or for this animal. And it's just thinking, being aware that it's a thing. And for people that do go around and rent a boat during the summer, or like do like little trips with their families, to just know when you're driving, right, I am also part of this water and I'm not alone out here. And we actually have an app that for the moment is only in the US called Whale Alert, where we track where the whales are, and then people look at the map and they're like, okay, I need to avoid these areas because this critically endangered animal is there and I don't want to harm it.
That is amazing. That kind of, I really also, if it in USA, so me as from Denmark, when I travel out to USA, they say that, and going out on a boat, that is a good thing to remember. It's like, I get to download this app if I go to a boat.
Exactly. And we also have bigger ship cruise lines and big ship containers. They use them because they're huge and they have shipping routes, but if they see there's a whale, they could easily just redirect it just a little bit so that they don't hit the whale. And it's a app that we're constantly developing. We're currently coming up with a new upgrade. I think we're doing a whole launch on it in April this year as well. So there's more to come on that as well.
That is amazing. I have heard about before. I'm right now in this moment, I am not the person on a boat. I hear in the, I think it's called Sarkinios, like in Greece, there's an island that's called Sarkinios or something like that. Mm-hmm. And there was along the sea turtles, there was, they have like all the bones, like what you call that on English, like the inside bones of the sea turtle. So you can see it like on the table.
The like, the bones? You mean like the carcass?
Yeah, exactly.
Ah, yeah, that happens to me all the time. I'm like, oh, what's the word for that?
And on the top of the what you call the shelf, mm-hmm, there was a boat, like a speedboat, that just like hit the sea turtles, and sea turtle was dying because it was so big, like hole in the back of it. So yeah,
yes, it's very dangerous, and it's good to be aware of it. And usually there's maps out there that tell you where these animals aggregate, and just keep an eye out for that. And like when you're at a harbor, just be like, oh, look at that. Let's go read like where these animals are. And if we decide to go see them, let's see if I'm allowed to. How can I go without impacting anything? Because you can go and see them, but there's ways to do it where you don't harm the animals while you enjoy the animals. Because I love sea turtles. Like if I can see a sea turtle, I'll go, but I don't want to put it in danger.
No, I've only seen the hatchlings going from the beach down in the water. That is like unbelievable experience. Well, so that is a good point to also like when you go on a vacation, on a trip, also to know like what is on this beach, what is in the water, what do I get to be aware of, what gear do I get to have on. There is also think about other species compared to my own needs. It's really like think about like what is out there where I'm going right now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the 4 action step you are talking about, we'll share a little bit about, is join you to make an impact in your work as I get out of your text?
The last one I put, I think, was to look for sustainable seafood. Sustainable seafood exists for any kind of food. It's not just lobster and crab. And looking for the most sustainable choice when you go to your fish market or when you go to your supermarket is actually very important. It's so easy to do your groceries and not think about it because you're tired, you want to go home and eat. But often there's little labels that will tell you this was more sustainable, this was caught in a like more eco-friendly way. And actually looking out for these specific labels or markings are very important, and that can be done anywhere in the world. That can be done from Denmark, it can be done from Argentina, and just being conscious of the fact that there are people out there that are making efforts to fish in a more sustainable way. And by supporting them, you're giving them more power to be the majority and not the minority in the industry. And it's very simple. It will often cost a few bucks more, but it's, I think, worth it if you want to continue eating and appreciating the fish, because I mean, this is a completely different issue, but like overfishing is happening as well. And like, if you want to continue eating your seafood and enjoying it, going for the sustainable couple of bucks more option is actually a huge difference. And you're supporting innovation, you're supporting change.
Yeah, exactly. Like as a consumer, also to support your work, to really focus on what do we choose in our lifestyles around foods, and that will support what you really are working for out in the field on the ocean.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Of course, my friend. So it is a little bit like, yeah, it's so important to, as a consumer. Oh my God, that English words.
It's a hard word. I get it.
Okay, as like me, as a person that's going out, I do not buy fish, but let us imagine if I go, when I really look about like labels, as you talk about, I will also support what you're doing. That was like my point is in it, like what we are choosing in our lifestyle around food is also supporting your work, what you are really fighting for out there in the world, because more we are choosing the sustainable things like fish or something else with a good label on that's coming from good places, the people that's getting the fish off, something else is really think about the environment. We are putting more focus on that area, and that area will get bigger, because more people want that compared to the cheap version that is destroying the ecosystem or destroying the ocean.
Exactly. And like you said, this doesn't apply just to fish. There's sustainable agriculture, there's sustainable everything out there. And often it's worth it. Like because these people often decide to make a bigger effort in the way they fish and the way they raise animals and the way they do their crops. And you need to reward them for actually being like, I don't want to do this at the expense of the ecosystem. And by supporting these innovators, these first people and everyone that like decides to make a change, you're just helping and you're just showing that this is what it should be. And this should be the options. And it makes a huge difference.
It does. It also doesn't make a big impact. Like when you go on the beach, I see plastic. If every one of us going on the beach and take 3 plastic pieces off, there's a huge difference. And 3 pieces is not much. You could just put it down in your shoes, you can put it all over, like everyone we have shoes on, just down in the shoes and you have it. If you don't want to put it in your pockets, also corona and all dirt on your fingers, and you can just wash your fingers afterward in water. So there's no excuse to take the plastic.
I agree. Plus nowadays there's a lot of like beach cleanup events where people gather and clean the beach, and those are really good things you can work. And
I also believe they also support your work, because so they don't get out, because when it hit the ocean, it's like we are had made
when it's in the ocean, getting it out is thousands of times harder.
Yeah,
the goal is to stop it from getting in the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's also something you out there can do, is create a beach cleaning. And that is an amazing thing to do, like get your friends together and like go on a date, go with your mom, your dad, your sister, like go out and create something, because there was one point when I create a cleaning up, and it comes so much behind my mom on how much plastic there was, because it was hitting under the sands, in the bushes. Like we collect like a big like bag of plastic on 1.5 hours, and it was coming behind everyone around how much plastic there is. When you choose to see after with your eyes, there's just all over.
Yeah, and you don't have to do those only at the beach. Actually, a lot of plastic comes from rivers, and then it just makes it way to the beach. It takes more time, but it'll get there. So even if you're not in a beach area, if you're in the mountain or elsewhere, anything that's on the floor will eventually end in the water.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter why. You can also do it like in the city, go for a city walk and say, after we finish, we're going on a cafe and get a cup of coffee together, or tea, or doing some cozy stuff together, just enjoying your time together instead of like sit on the table and just starting to do something and make an impact, and also inspired, because when we're doing that, we also inspire people that is passing us to like, oh, what are they doing? And it's like next time you see something, they are doing, I also get to take something up.
Exactly. It's a great way to get together and make something fun.
Yeah. So the last things you want, if there's something you want to share with the audience around this amazing creatures, the North Atlantic white whale, or just around the ocean, around whales, around the IFAW work, do you have something, the last thing you want to give to the audience?
I want the audience to look forward to this calving season. I am very excited. There's been years where we only had like 2 or 0 calves, and this is the beginning, and we already have 4. And last year we had 18. So it's just like a good news. And around the holidays, it's nice to remind ourselves that it's for this little baby whale. Well, it's not that little. It's actually huge, but it's little. That we do all of this. It's beautiful footage, and just looking at how amazing these whales are is just getting a little bit of passion in makes a difference, and you just like want to learn more. And I think that's what I'm going to end with.
That's amazing news. So where can people know more about this work IFAW is doing, or the North Atlantic right whale conservation or saving the animal? Where can people find more about that, so you get to like good information what you are sending out?
I mean, on our website, we have a page that describes our work and the issue. We also have regular blogs that update on huge news, like when the first calf was born, we did a blog. We did a blog when the new population update came out. And also we often post on our social media about, especially on our Twitter, we'll post about more daily events like another calf, or like sadly an entanglement. Like those things are usually can get updated there. And there's a lot of resources on our website to learn more, or you can just contact us at, there's an email, so I think it's IFAW. There's an email somewhere that I can't think of. It's probably like something simple, but and if you have questions, just contact us and we'll get back to you with any questions.
Amazing, just amazing. And to you out there, audience, thank you so much for watching this interview together with Francesca and me, around where we talk about the saving this amazing species of the North Atlantic right whale, and what we can do as a consumer, as a human being in our lifestyle, because it doesn't matter where you are in life, you can always support the work Francesca is doing and IFAW is doing, whatever you are, to just look up information, share the message, comment the posts, because more we comment the posts as social media is working, is going up in the scale, and people see the post more often. So more we comment and liking the posts, what they're doing, it will spread more out. It's also how Facebook love people to comment and like the posts. More people do it, more people see it. So I will inspire you to look up the information when you go out on vacation, on a boat, in the water, what Francesca is sharing about the 4 action steps you can do, and be inspired about it, make a commitment on it, and to take something with you from this interview, because knowledge as you get today, as I really hope you all have get something, need a commitment, so our brain is getting more deeper in our brain. So I will invite you to use a half an hour. So when you touch something that inspired you, look up on the internet, do something to make an action for it, because action make a difference. On that point, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you so much, Francesca.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
You're so much welcome. And thank you so much for the work you're doing and fighting for the whales and the sea, and make a huge impact through the work you're doing together with IFAW. So thank you so much. And Merry Christmas, my friend. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Enjoy this great time.
Yeah, thank you so much, and take good care, and see you soon again.
Yeah, see you soon. Stay safe.
Stay safe, everyone. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.